In this modern day and age of seemingly limitless technology, it is all too common for one to be absorbed by it, as it is all around us in day-to-day life. What are you using to watch this video? With the invention of many pieces of tech, it is very easy to be connected to the media through it, whether it be through watching television, movies or whatever, which has been made all the more easier with physical media releases like DVDs, books, CDs, as well as the numerous streaming platforms. Black Mirror is a show that I recently discovered via those means, and is one that articulates itself thematically on the ever-changing landscape of technology, as well as incorporating warnings about how it is developing pretty commonly, and has been praised over the years of its existence, for the most part in the case of what has recently come of the show. With regards to how it discusses these topics, and how its evolutionary status can affect us in positive and negative ways. It's safe to say that this is a very interpretable TV show with regards to how one can view it and process it, mainly because of its messages and also how varied it can be with regards to approaches of storylines. For example, the entire history of You, Be Right Back and San Junipero are very character central and rely on them to carry themselves, and others like 15 Million Merits, Nosedive and Hated in the Nation are in the vein of technological science fiction epics. Personally, I'm viewing and watching Black Mirror for good science fiction TV overall, rather than looking at it as some type of satirical TV show with regards to modern day technology and its evolutionary status quo. Whereas that can be a phenomenal part to the show, it's more icing on the cake for me personally. A factor as to the reasoning of why this is one of my favourite TV shows is its ability to simply absorb me into these huge and vast worlds of science fiction, a genre that is my personal favourite, as I feel it can be the most imaginative, thought-provoking and even challenging, which I guess plays into the reason as to why Hated in the Nation is possibly my favourite episode of the whole show, from what I have seen just the first 3 seasons and White Christmas at the point of this script's initial writing. Suffice to say, I have most definitely dived into the world of science fiction media, as it can be so fascinating and engaging for me personally, whether it be watching numerous TV shows like The Fantastic Doctor Who, The X-Files, The Twilight Zone and Quatermass and The Pit, but as exploring the massive world of sci-fi novels and books, particularly with the amazing range SF Masterworks published by Gollancz, which is essentially one massive documentation as to the most important novels of the genre to come out in the 20th century and slightly beforehand. Along with the aforementioned episode Hated in the Nation, 15 Million Merits is my favourite episode of Black Mirror, which is mainly due to a few individual reasons that all come together and coalesce to form what is essentially one of the most powerful pieces of television I have ever watched, and one that is probably in my top 10 TV episodes of all time. As I mentioned, one of my biggest likings and factors of appreciation for this show is how it just absorbs me into the world each episode has, which, particularly for this episode, crosses over with its satirical criticism on media very well. Our main character for this episode is Bingham Madsen, who goes by Bing for the majority of the episode, as played by Daniel, and we follow him through his day-to-day life in this dystopian world where media is everything, and I mean everything. I don't want to give too much away with regards to this episode, mainly because I would strongly encourage one to go out and watch it, because it can be such a powerful piece of television. But to detail a rough outline of the basic premise of this episode. In this dystopia, we follow our main character Bing and other people that pedal on these bikes to earn the currency of this place known as merits, which they utilise to help themselves live in this world. They are used for buying food from vending machines, as well as the numerous other uses for the media that they are forced to endure and watch. Bing eventually meets our secondary main character of the episode, Abby, who he has great admiration for, and through that, as well as Bing's utilisation of merits, leads to the events of the episode spiralling out of control, as well as the extremely sad and powerful ending to the episode. There is a lot to this episode overall, and I think it is definitely one that benefits rewatches, as I was able to pick up on some things I didn't even notice the first time around. One of the most interesting of which is actually a very probable and likely reference to the Blade Runner movies that is implemented in this episode. One of the key characteristics of the character Abby is that she makes these origami penguins, utilising the packing material of the products that the vending machines dispense. In the original Blade Runner movie, and nicely homaged in 2049 with one scene with the same character returning, there is this character that works with Rick Deckard, who is shown making these origami creations, most prominently of which, and now somewhat iconically, is this unicorn. In 15 Million Merits and Blade Runner, both of which are showcased in extremely similar ways, and even have moments and or scenes where the main character is playing with the folded creation. When I said media is everything in this episode, I meant literally everything. The characters we get are constantly fed it, which for them is completely unavoidable, like the air they breathe. For example, each individual within this world gets their own room, which is nothing more but a bed and wall-to-wall screens showcasing their merits and all of the various programs that they either power with their bikes or star in, which they control via hand gestures, which also automatically pauses whenever the occupant covers their eyes or closes them. The programs and games that these people play whilst in their cubicles or on their pedal bikes are wide and varied. A talent contest by the name of Hot Shots, which is essentially a parody of shows like The X Factor or Britain's Got Talent, and plays into the overall plot in a major way. There's also a shoot 'em up video game, a pornography channel, as well as an eating contest, and much, much more. How all of these are presented here leads to this episode being visually stunning. I love all of the sequences of being in his room, interacting with everything on the screens and using the merits to buy or skip things in there or in the canteen area. The way it's all presented as well leads to this to be such a visually engrossing watch, with everything with regards to the technology, which is helped out wonderfully by the great direction by Euros Lyn, who directed some episodes of Torchwood I think, as well as the cinematography. There's one particular shot where Bing is talking to Abby and they're staring out at the vast layers and layers of the pedal chambers that really did strike me as being amazing, and really helped to build up the world that the writers are presenting here. All of the various programs and games that they have are very realistically constructed as well, I would have said. The shooter game looking a lot like something you would find as some type of virtual reality game, and the aforementioned Hot Shots being extremely reminiscent of what you would see on the likes of The X Factor and Britain's Got Talent. It is through all of this that the episode presents a satirical take on media, which leads to pokes and jabs at many things. One thing in particular that I thought was pretty genius is something I didn't even actually notice on first watch, and that is this. Whenever they are in the pedal room, there's these janitors that clean up after them in terms of rubbish that they leave behind, who are definitely showcased as being much lower class than the peddlers, I would have said. This point is kind of apparent whenever the character Dustin is being a massive dickhead to one of them, and the other peddlers just ignore the situation with small casual glances, even if that, but it is made much more obvious through the implications of them within the media that the peddlers are absorbing, most notably being the shoot 'em up game in which they are actually shooting virtual representations of the janitors in the game. It is also with its use of the various media programs and interactives that leads to one of the most powerful endings to a piece of media I have ever experienced, which is helped amazingly by Daniel's incredible performance as Bing, which in turn makes it one of the most powerful episodes of television I have ever seen overall. Again, I don't particularly want to give away too much, but I will also say that the way that the episode builds to the finale is amazing, with our main character's transformation being both disturbing and extremely powerful. Overall, 15 Million Merits is without question one of the most thought-provoking watches I have ever had. It is a long watch for a TV episode at about 62 minutes, but I do feel that it warrants that runtime very, very well. If you're a collector of physical media or a media junkie in general, then I cannot recommend a watch of this episode enough, as it will thrill you and even disturb you at times. It is an episode that is thrilling, visually striking, and unbelievably profound. 15 Million Merits, I would have said, is one of the greatest pieces of television I have ever seen, and is nothing short of an absolute masterpiece.